Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite, uncensored, unfiltered, two people with D letter names on a microphone podcast show. My name is Derek, uh, the second half of the name of this show. And with me, as always, is my co host and wonderfully awesome friend, Dane.
Hey, um, so we are back. It's also currently an unscripted show. Not like we usually have scripts or anything, but typically we have like a little bit of a working doc.
Yeah, we have
We
like
do not
a
have that right now.
yeah,
For reasons I'm sure we're about to get into. Uh, we have been off for a hot minute, haven't
yeah.
we?
This
Um,
this year in general, like, has been a real roller coaster.
it has been. We've been like, I think we got a little bit off sometime around July during the summer when I went traveling out of the country, and then I was getting ready for law school, and then I was in law school. I'm still in law school, to be honest. It's just post finals now. Um, and Derek's been doing tons of great work traveling for your films for the
Yeah.
first time in your life, right? Like,
Mhm. Yep.
which that's fucking awesome. Um, Also, if you can't hear, Derek is a little tired today. Um, Whereas I am not. I am all aboard the hype train. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
if you listen closely, we don't sound janky anymore.
hopefully.
Really.
Uh,
Um,
that's the other
'Cause
thing we've had:
yeah,
technical
technical
difficulties.
issues. So many technical issues this year.
Hmm.
That, like, astounded me.
Yeah,
'Cause,
some of
like
them not even our own fault.
exactly. Like, sometimes just whatever programs that we've been using, just we're having a bad day, and sometimes we just couldn't figure it out, so we just replaced a bunch of stuff, and then it worked. And
Yeah.
now we're here, and
Yep. It's been 2 rounds of gear shifts and 1 round of our program stopped working, and now it works again, which hooray.
yeah.
Also though, I will say sorry about some surrounding noise. I forgot to warn Derek about this before we began. um there is like a crazy windstorm happening. We're experiencing like 60, 70 plus mile an hour winds right now, so
Oh, man.
you can hear that. And I'm also in a weird space right now, so you may hear some other house noises. Sorry. um but we're hoping next year we will find a rhythm. That's
Yeah.
my hope.
Yeah, that is a big hope for me as well. Find a rhythm and kind of not have to worry about so many of these other things that I think became such a huge worry throughout this year's run of the show.
Because so, but we can get into that more next episode next week. Because this week we're doing reflection on season 2,
Yeah,
year 2.
year 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
So, what was the biggest new thing we did this year? Because I think it was guests, right? That
yeah.
was this year.
Yes, that was like a
'Cause-
big thing we wanted to do,
yeah,
and we did it.
we totally did it, and those were like absolute highlights for me. Like,
Yeah,
how long was that first episode with Clara? Like, what?
it was like
Almost
almost
2 hours.
yeah.
That was
It's
fucking great.
yeah. Exactly, and then, yeah, we had a lot of good friends. We had Taylor, we had
Will,
Will,
other
we had
Will.
other Will. We had Will, we had Cordell, we had, um, Leah,
We had Jules, and
yep,
we
and
and we had Clara at the end. That was
yep,
which I want to have. Honestly, I want to have all of them back at some point.
yes, yes,
Um, and so like that was probably the best part of this past year.
yeah,
Um, I think the one thing I wish we'd gotten to do that we did in season 1 that we did not do this year was we didn't do any in-person stuff,
we did not.
which that was entirely chance last time. So, because it was also mid-pandemic when we got to figure that out too somehow,
Yeah,
which I'm like, that's hilarious that we somehow managed to do an in-person thing during the middle of that. But
yeah,
um, mid, more like it's over height of the pandemic, I suppose, height of
Mm-hmm.
lockdown days. But yeah, I would love to do more. That's the one thing I missed this year, for sure.
Yeah, because this year, well, you had that whole train debacle, and
Oh yeah, yeah. We were
yeah,
supposed to.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that
that
was
was
back
going to be like
in.
what saved our summer was doing this block of IRL recordings. But
Yeah, that's
because of the
right.
train and just because, like, we don't do this show, we're not so set on our deadlines, or like if it gets stressful, we try not to have that happen. So we ultimately just turned it into a hangout day, which was incredible. We hadn't hung out like that in a long time.
Yeah, and I
And
was
that was
so
much needed.
tired. So
Yeah,
tired.
you were so
So story time, story time. This was back in late January, early February ish.
yeah,
Ish. You and I got a chance to see each other because I went out to LA, both for personal reasons. I think I've said it before, but like Gracie's, my partner's family is out in LA, so I go out. Derek, of course, is out in LA. Um, but also, I was looking at the law school down in San Diego, um, and I don't want anyone to think poorly of this train because by all accounts, it's great. There's a short, like, hour and a half long, 2-ish hour train ride from LA to San Diego. It's super easy to get to. You hop on and then you hop back. And it on the way down, it was awesome. It was beautiful, it was easy, it was great. Loved doing it. I went and saw the school. Wasn't the right fit. I have feelings about that particular school, but um it wasn't the right fit. I didn't love San Diego's still too high energy for me. Like it's like of the Southern California cities I've been to, this might be the chillest. It might be, but chill Southern California city is still too much for me apparently. But I get back on the train the next day to come back. Derek was going to pick me up. We were going to record. We were going to hang out. It was going to be great. Uh, the train before mine hit a car on the road. Like the car was on a cross, like the train crossing, hit the car, and my train gets delayed for like 3 hours, just stuck on the tracks. And I'm in Anaheim, and I'm just stuck there. And we just didn't have time to record at that point. So Derek, being just a trooper, still came to get me. We got food, and we hung out, but like you just took me back to Gracie's place after we picked up food and had dinner, and we had hung out a bit because I was like I got nothing in me at that point
yeah,
because I'd been stuck on the train all day.
yeah. And then we
Um,
were stuck in the most abysmal LA traffic.
yeah, we got stuck in LA traffic
Like
after that.
it was like particularly bad that day.
Yep, it was pretty bad. Um, the line for In and Out was pretty long because it was like even for like it was like 8 or 8:30 when we got in that line or something by
Yeah,
that point. And so like I was like it can't be that bad. And even then it was still like
it was like 2 blocks.
it was like 2 blocks. Yeah, it was like 30-40 minutes in that line. So it was like everything was delayed. It is just I look back now with some fondness on that, but like at the time I was like this is the worst day that has ever
Yeah,
been. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah. So that was like probably the one of the first things that happened, and then you know it was kind of good because, like, in a weird way, we got to put up a lot of material that didn't have a home in a like they were podcasts, but they didn't have a home on a feed.
that's true. That's
Like
definitely true.
scene one, or not scene one, whatever goes, and
Yep.
then Sin and Lavender both got to air on our
On our feed.
which is great because now they have a place where they can be archived for people to listen to. Um, and it was nice for me to get a break from editing.
Yeah.
I think, like, I was definitely like, because we would do these huge batch records, and then I just like cut through it, and it would, it's not a lot of work, but it does take like a
It's
day.
ours. It's
Yeah, it's
ours.
hours of time, and like I think like we definitely experimented a lot with like editing and like the kinds of topics we were doing. I think this
Mhm.
year, like the guest episodes are probably the most interesting to try and edit because there's not much we can really cut because of how we've had to record these,
Yeah,
um,
without a
because of
doubt.
just so many tech issues, like in general on our end. Like, and you know, it's like you don't want to ask someone to be on a show and then like have to have them deal with tech issues. So we
Mm-hmm.
always try to make it as easy as possible. But sometimes it's just rough for us.
Yeah,
um,
sometimes it is what it is.
we were almost going to use Skype. Remember that?
Oh God, yeah. What does Skype still exist?
Yeah, yeah, it still exists. I
Right.
have it installed on my computer. I can
Wild.
still use it. I know. So you know, we were like one straw away from using Skype at one point, and I think too, like it was interesting to kind of have these forced breaks because I think you and I both got space to think about like things we really wanted to talk about. This was also the first year we like capitalized on something we were interested in and timing because we
Oh
reviewed
yeah.
the Honor Among Thieves, the Dungeons and Dragons trailer, and that was like outside of our OSR episode, which we did this year. Um, those are our two highest episodes,
Not
which is
super
wild to
surprising.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the OSR episode popped off on YouTube. It has like 400 views or something like that.
Which is really high for us because we
Yeah,
don't.
that's like if we got that return on investment even once, and I don't know, like business strategists would be like, you know, they'd be cashing in all their stocks on us.
They'd be telling us you should be an OSR podcast, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, which is a little hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I've done OSR without meaning to, and I'm playing it pretty consciously right now. But I haven't even run a OSR system specifically, and I don't think you have either.
Not since second edition, and that's not even OSR technically, because that's just
No,
how it is. So
we were like, you and I have played the games that are being revived just
yes.
as the games, because the people who taught us to play D&D were like, yeah, I play D&D, and here's you, like, your dad handed you a D&D, and my uncle was like, this is the original thing, and that's what we're playing. Neat, you
Yeah.
know, which is hilarious. Um,
Yes.
we weren't being
Um
revived, or we weren't reviving anything. Um,
no. We were just talking about something we were thinking about playing. And I
yeah,
guess now you are?
I am.
Which one are you playing?
So I'm not running an OSR system. I'm running 5e as an OSR.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
so there's it's not quite a mega dungeon yet. They haven't, like, I I have a one planned for later. But more than that, it's the have you heard of the gritty realism mod that's in the Dungeon Master's Guide?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So, for long story short, the basics of it is a long rest becomes 7 days, and a short rest becomes 8 hours.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and so, like, what that basically does is it kind of turns back the clock to like AD&D's recovery rules, more or less. More or
Mhm.
less. Like in AD&D, hit points returned at 1 per day, basically, which
Yeah.
brutal. Um, and like, on top of that, I like it makes it really interesting because, like, spell slots are both extremely valuable, and also, it makes rituals in 5e really really valuable because they can be cast without spell slots, and like the healer feat is arguably the best way to be a healer of any kind, um because it doesn't require tons of cash like buying a bunch of health potions, and it doesn't require spell slots like healing magic does. So it makes certain, like, short rest classes way stronger. um so things like fighter or monk are just a little bit better. Same with warlock,
Mm.
is they're just because short rest abilities come back. But also OSR is like, it's a style more than it's a rule set by any stretch of the imagination. Like,
Yeah.
so, for example, the my players get to have a stable of characters. The point is not to follow like strict character storylines. Like, they have backstories, and I intend to bring that up from time to time. But like, it's not about it's not the critical role style of D&D. You know, it's about them handing them a map. You know, they get to go explore and have adventures, and it's like it's more location and adventure based than it is character arc based, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Um, and you know, like you and I have played that way before. You know, one of our favorite campaigns we talk about all the time. It's the Lich campaign. That was actually kind of vaguely in the OSR realm. You know, because
Yes.
I as a DM was far less concerned about your guys' character arcs, and I was far more concerned about providing you a space in which to have adventures. You know,
Yeah.
and so that's what I'm doing. I really for a long time considered doing Five Torches Deep or Old School Essentials.
Hmm.
But I ended up deciding that even though those systems are both fantastic, the people I play with are really familiar with 5e, and it would just be easier on them to just do 5e and hack it a little bit, you know?
Yeah, that is, I think, the most. We always come back to the fact that D&D is still really. It's now like incredibly more accessible than
Mm-hmm.
so many other games.
And it's ubiquitous. It helps. It
Yeah.
helps because like it's way easier to get people to start playing an OSR style game if they're still just playing their normal, like, I'm still a sorcerer and I know how sorcerers work. It's just, you know, I don't get my spell slots back that often, and I got to think about these things a little differently. And I'm not the main character. My characters could die, and also I'm not guaranteed stats because we're not doing point buy, we're not doing standard array. We're doing like, how are we doing die rolls? We're doing 3d6 plus 1, and you don't get re-rolls. You get it, and they get locked in the order you roll them. And then
Gotcha.
I have like prerequisite stat blocks for required classes.
Okay.
So, like being a sorcerer requires an 18 charisma. If you
Oh,
don't have it, too bad. Uh, you know, and
you
I think,
should you
yeah,
should type that
it's
up.
I have it typed up actually.
Oh, can you send that to me?
I will. I actually could read it off. One sec.
Yeah, no, that's interesting
Upside.
because oh yeah,
Oh,
go
go
for
ahead.
it.
No, go ahead.
Well, because like this year we did a lot more TTRPG like modding and module writing and like design talk,
Mm-hmm. We
which
totally
was
did.
interesting. That was a big change this year versus just gushing about the system.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So, bonus about being in this room, all of my game stuff is easily accessible. I'm not in my studio today. Yeah. So, cleric requires wisdom of 13 plus. Fighter needs strength, dex, or constitution of 13 plus. Rogue needs dex or charisma 13 plus. Wizard intelligence 13 plus. So with like uh bonuses from being like elven or whatever, you know, that's not so hard to get one of those. Any one stat above at a 13 or better, you can have one of the four basic classes. Barbarian, I have strength and constitution at 13 or higher. Bard, dex and charisma at 13 or higher. Ranger, dex and wisdom at 13 or higher. Warlock needs constitution and charisma at 13 or higher. And then like the rare classes, so like artificer 18 plus intelligence, druid 18 plus wisdom, sorcerer 18 plus charisma. Monk needs dex and wisdom at 16 or higher, and paladin needs strength and charisma at 16 or higher.
huh?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, like it did require like a change in talking to my players about this, because they're very used to the whole idea of like, I'm gonna spend a lot of time figuring out my character. I'm gonna come and we're gonna build like, and I had to be like, don't, like, come with some vague ideas, like just a few ideas, because the dice might give you something you absolutely don't want, and you need to be
yeah,
like ready for that. And like, also like you may roll a bad stat roll and you need to like find the fun in that. And you know, like the fun being like, you might have like a built-in death wish, or it's super cool to see if you can get this character to survive for a while, or by weird fluke does this person just have a ton of luck somehow, you know, like any of those things are really interesting.
yeah.
Like for example, Gracie is one of my players, and she rolled an amazing stat array uh for a barbarian. Like
Mm,
she got to start with like a 20 constitution and like an 18 strength.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So just like, and then like her other stats were like had bonuses or were middling except for charisma, which is a -2.
Huh.
She came in specifically hoping to play something like a warlock or a bard.
Ooh.
And so like to play that, none of her stat arrays were that good other than this one. And she got such a good one that she didn't want to give it up. Because she's like, when am I going to get the dice to roll like this for me ever again necessarily, you know?
Yeah.
And so like it's just a completely different style, and it's really fun, and it takes a little bit of buy-in, but they're starting to really enjoy it because there is a lot more there's a lot of challenge involved and different sort of considerations that they make. So yeah, I love the OSR. I'd love to talk about it more. I want to play the old school essentials or Five Torches Deep eventually, but
yeah.
D&D be D&D, and it makes it easy.
Yeah. 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 Man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I guess, I don't know, ideas and things we have going for next year. Because I feel like we've done a pretty good job at summarizing the difficulties of this year and some of the big changes we had and what we liked. I mean, as usual, there's not much I don't think we didn't like.
No, because it's hanging out with you, and that's a great time.
I think the only thing we agree we don't like is when we have to record more than 3 episodes in a block.
Yeah,
which we're definitely changing next year.
Yeah, lesson learned on that.
Yeah, which I think we loosely talked about it, and I don't know how we're gonna figure it out, but I think like probably these first 2-3 months we're probably gonna take it probably a bit slow getting back onto the mic and really finesse the rhythm a bit, because we had talked about like, you know, going every other week or recording in smaller batches or recording shorter episodes, or maybe doing like, you know, like I guess like, because like we have very complicated calendars, and it's like we can't even necessarily do a 4-episode block of recording anymore. So
hard to find that time.
Yeah. So
yeah,
finding those kind of slivers where we can kind of not do this in a stressful way, but also
still do it.
Is what we've agreed upon, because I think we both like the show. It's a great way for us to collaborate while we still kind of figure out other projects for us to collaborate on. Like, you know, we had tried the Mecha project, which we've put on hiatus.
Yeah.
And we've started our module project.
I have not made the progress I hoped, but it's still in the ether. I've not given up on that one.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah. It's going slow, but we haven't decided that we don't have enough time yet.
Yeah.
And I think like that's something I'm looking forward to seeing if we will, by the end of next year, finish, or if we'll pivot to something else, you know?
Yeah, because so we have not done the Danes in Law School episode yet, but we've been going around the edges of it. If you've listened to the behemoth that is Clara's first episode, I think there's a part in it where I say the phrase, this does not constitute legal advice or something. And then give a legal take from my currently extremely narrow and limited knowledge base. So we haven't really gone through that, but it has changed a lot for me. Like, and mostly, and I will say this on the whole, having come out of finals, but still don't have my grades yet. So, you know, my feelings could change in a week. But what I mean to say is that it's been good. It's been like really good for me as like a person. But it is extremely time consuming and extremely mentally challenging, which both was expected, and especially in the mentally challenging zone, was exactly what I wanted, you know?
Yeah.
However, what that's meant is that a lot of a discovery I've made over the last few months is that a lot of what I do and did to enjoy myself requires and uses similar skill sets. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of writing, it's a lot of critical thinking. That's what I like to do. And the work I do in a day-to-day way now is also that. And so it's been a learning curve to readjust how to get myself to relax, how to continue to do these things that bring a lot of life to me, without it
Mhm.
being like a detriment. Like early on, I was reading so much so fast. I was giving myself literal headaches um from like literal eye strain, and uh the idea of reading, even for like reading a D&D book for prep of a session, sounded hard, you know. Um and so like I'm currently in a space of reclaiming that, and I definitely, the fact that I didn't get to record with you over those months it's a shame to me. I'm not fond of the fact that that kind of fell away, and so I want to get back on. I want to get back on mic. I really do, in a regular way. Um,
Mhm.
and to be honest, though, like we've talked about with the technical difficulties, we had 3 sets of technical difficulties this year.
Yeah.
And with how we were recording before, that's 3 months worth of episodes that were missed, basically.
Yeah.
And I know that 2 of those technical difficulties took place while I was in school. It was during the middle of the semester.
Yes.
And so on the one hand, I also think about the fact of like, it's made me not even that we let it fall away, as in like, there was no space before. If those technical difficulties had happened, we'd be like, okay, we're going to figure it out. We'll record next week. And the
Yeah.
difference is, if we didn't get it that week, there was no recovery time. That was it. That was like my one
Yeah.
shot. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm hoping that we going forward will have more options. And, you know, I was talking, I think it was with one of my law school friends. I was like, by the time we're very good at this, we're going to be done. And she was like, yeah, we're going to master this at the end of semester 5. We're going to be amazing for semester 6. And then we have to go be lawyers, and we're going to be terrible at that. And I was like, yeah, that's awful. you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
cause like there's all those things like in those early semesters of like all of those, like you remember from college, like there's all that like bureaucracy you have to fill out, like, did you sign off on your fees, did you do this, did you blah blah blah, and until you're in the habit of that after a few semesters, that takes up a ton of your energy. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like once you get good at a rhythm, everything changes.
yeah, that
Um,
that is the way.
yep. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably be in the similar boat. Once we get really good at this podcast, we will have evolved it or found something new to work on together. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
and that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting when it does happen. I will say, regardless, I don't know how many episodes we'll do next year,
Me neither.
but I think next year we could hit 100. I think next year we could hit 100 episodes. We're
100
not that far
episodes
away.
total,
Yeah.
not 100 episodes that we record and release
Correct. Yeah,
in the
100
next.
episodes
Okay,
over the course
cool.
of the
I was
whole
like,
show.
Derek, I thought we were talking about less,
No, yeah,
perhaps.
because I looked at it and it's like we did like 36 episodes or 34 episodes this year, like main feed episodes,
Nice.
and we did 52 last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so that's like, I don't know, like 86, 88 episodes. So we
Mm-hmm.
only have to do like 14 to 16, maybe 18 episodes. That's a little under once every other week. That's like once every other week, but every other month we do one episode only.
Yeah. See, I'm hoping that we get into a nice 26. That's my hope for next.
A
A
nice
nice
26.
26. We did it. We hit every other week. If we get more, awesome. But like that's my hope.
Okay.
That's currently what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for some in-person episodes.
Yes.
That entirely comes down to uh luck on some level.
Yeah.
Um
Though, like, we have talked about, like, eventually at some point next year, I'm trying to visit Colorado. And
yeah.
when that happens, that's when we can do some of these weird ideas we've had.
Yep, we have had some weird ideas. I'm hoping to do some more air quotes like timely episodes too. Like
Mm,
when I can't remember when the D&D movie comes out, but
I think March.
March, yeah. I think that it was March or February, I couldn't remember. But either way,
Yeah.
I want us to go see it the same day and then come back and record an episode that evening. I definitely or more, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I want to do that. And maybe we can do like uh some recording of us like coming up to the theater and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
Just
Just
like
some
solo.
nice.
We might have to do it on our phones or what I would have to
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
on my
yeah.
phone.
Some
But
classic NPR.
yeah. Well, you
I
can
love
hear
that.
the like the doors open and close, you got all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I
But I
love
definitely
that.
want to do more things like that.
Hmm.
Where we're enjoying the format. Like
Yes.
I like playing with that sort of stuff. I do genuinely want to talk about the OSR more. Like genuinely I do.
Hmm.
Um and that has nothing to do with our results on it. I'm seriously, it doesn't. I just
No, yeah. I mean, like, we've talked about how, like, we really like those episodes, and it's pretty wild to us that, like, I mean, I guess, it speaks to it. We like doing those episodes. The
mhm.
people listening can hear that, and it popped off. It's like a nice balance of, like, our interest aligning with a need.
Yeah, because
And it works out.
also the OSR is a small community, you know. So it's
Yeah.
when you said that, I was like, actually, that's not that surprising. There's only so many people in the OSR period, you
Yeah.
know. Um, just because it, honestly, it's because the interest is a little niche, and the people who are like OG with it are a bit older, you know, like they're Gygaxian motherfuckers, and Mr. Gygax is no longer with us,
Yep.
and all that. So,
Yeah.
um, like I think about those sorts of things. Um, what else? I want to keep doing guests too, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to get at least one or two of our guests back.
Yes.
And I'd love to do someone we haven't had on yet.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed. I the idea of, like, having, like, regular contributors in a way
mhm.
seemed kind of funny to me. Like, we do like maybe we have the same guest on that we had last year on twice, once in the beginning half of the year, once in the second half of the year, and it's like live from the ground, or
Yeah.
like reporting on something we've done.
I bet Mr. Wilbangs would definitely be, and Clara are the two that spring immediately to mind as like people who I think would be into that. They're
Yes, yeah,
creatives, as they're big creatives as well.
exactly, yeah.
Not that Taylor and Will and Jules aren't. Just we've done a lot of stuff with Will and Clara in particular over the years, and
Yeah.
Taylor too. Taylor's
Hmm.
just often so busy. I'm so busy though. I haven't gotten to see her in like months, and she's not that far away. And
She's not.
that makes me sad sometimes. I gotta give updates. That's the other thing, is I gotta give law school updates. We have to get the like Dane just talks about law school for an hour episode done. We have to do that early next year, just so that we can so I can stop
You
and
don't
I
want,
can
like, a
just
2-minute segment that I time you with at the top of every episode?
no. We can do that. Like we can do that, but we have to do the first one before we can do that. Do you
Okay.
know what I mean?
Another
Because I need
another number 0, like how we have Elden Ring number 0 and The Legend of
yes.
Zelda number 0.
Yes.
Okay,
Because like
cool.
I need to talk about all the good things. I need to air all my grievances, and then I can you know then I can talk about like the little pieces. To be clear, I am not going to rag on when I say grievances. I'm talking about systemic grievances I have with the law school system and the law system as like systemic problems. You know, Like,
Right. Not grievances with your college or your
no,
profession.
not with my specific college, not with my professors, not with my fellow students. Like, they're all human institutions and beings, so of course, like, it's not perfect. Like,
Right.
I had amazing professors, I had less amazing professors, of course I did. That's how life is. But I don't want to ever, the caliber of people I have met over this last 4 months on the whole has just been stupendous. And I am every day kind of excited to spend time with those people and get to know them better, and to be honestly just kind of wowed by them. They're brilliant. I'm being taught by very brilliant people, and I'm working with very brilliant people. And so when I say grievances, I do not mean the people. I
Right.
am I am enjoying that aspect immensely.
The only tea we're spilling is systemic tea.
We are spilling all the systemic tea, because holy shit, there is a lot of systemic tea, Derek. There is so much systemic
I'm ready
tea.
to.
Like, oh, good
uh,
God. Like, see, this is why we have to do this. We have
yeah.
to do this because there's a lot.
Maybe that'll be our second episode of the new year. How about that?
That'd be perfect. I would love
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. We can maybe how we should plan, because normally how we plan is I put a bunch of ideas in Discord and then
Mhm.
I edit them as we come up with ideas. Maybe we should just make a list in like a Google Doc of our 26 episodes that we want to do, and we kind of slot them in and plan our year.
Ooh, yeah, let's do that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Let's
Maybe
definitely do that.
Yeah, because I think like the kind of casual like month to month planning worked for a while, but now that we
But
have a really good handle on what we want to do, how we want to do it, and what we
yeah,
want to try, there's only so much time in the year. So
there is only so much time in the year. I think we should do this. We should have the 26 slots, and then we should have, I'd say, 5 to 6 backups,
yes,
to fill in case like a guest falls through, or like it just didn't line up and we didn't get to be in person, and any number of those things, like, to
yeah,
catch those stuff. I think we should do that. So, like, 32 ideas, 6 of them are in our back pocket.
love that.
Love that. Love it.
Great. We are adults.
We are adults. Oh my God, Derek, we are adults.
Yeah, you're turning 27 next year. I'm already 27.
You're already 27. We
Yeah.
can round up to 30 already, Derek. I keep
Oh
saying
God.
that.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, we're almost there. I mean,
Yeah. Do you feel good about that? Because I actually
um,
feel good about it.
I so I had a bit of existentialism before I turned 27,
Mm, mm.
because I was noticing like everyone, like I was becoming that like single friend from every Netflix comedy show,
Oh God. Yeah,
and
sure,
like,
sure.
and I was like, oh God, this is like what people write about in Hollywood. Like, I don't know if I don't know, why am I becoming like this? Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be Jake Johnson forever. um,
Yeah, yeah.
like, I don't want to be Jake Johnson from New Girl forever. But I think once I turned 27, a significant amount of things had happened in my life and my personal life, good and bad, that I think it really put a lot of things in perspective.
Mhm.
Um, and that's probably a topic for like a bigger episode, like,
Definitely.
just dealing with grief, loss, and like the existentialism of humanity and life.
And
Um,
growing older.
yeah, growing older, and
Yeah.
like what is too old or too young mean,
Yeah.
because I think like, another reason why like we also had a big gap, because I had a lot of personal stuff that happened this fall.
Mhm.
And so like I just physically wasn't going to be, I didn't have a computer to edit with. I had to go travel and do some family stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's amazing what can happen in a month, in a year, and how that can shift how you look at things. And I think before I turned 27, yeah, I was feeling pretty existential. But once I turned 27, I actually felt okay. Like I kind of realized 27 is going to be a big year, and it's going to be a year for me in terms of like, it's going to be a big year in terms of like, there's a lot of things that I'm finally giving myself permission to pursue.
Yeah.
And I'll be really curious how I feel once I turn 28, and in terms of like, did I pursue those things? And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think it'll be fun once we hit 30. Like We get to say everyone's turning their dirty 30. And I don't know. It's like I don't know. We have a friend, Dane, who's gonna get married when we turn 30. Um or like right before we turn 30. And like that is wild to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like they're gonna be 30. Um, and it just like when that was phrased to me, I was like, wow, life's funny that way, you know?
It is. It really is. I definitely had like this year 26 has felt not awesome. And it sounds really silly, but part of it has to do with the fact that I just don't care for the number 26. Um because it feels like one of those between years, you know?
Yes,
Like
it is
27,
definitely a between year
28.
because it's a transition year.
Yeah. Like 27, 28, 29 all feel like that's your late 20s. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, dope. I'm in my late 20s. I like that.
yeah,
And before like 25 is like you're in your 20s. And I was like, cool. And 20 through 24 was all like early 20s. I was like, okay, cool. It was 26 where I was just like, this just feels off. Like I don't know where I should be. And then um I went traveling with Gracie and then started law school and I finished a few large projects earlier in the year and all that kind of came together I just sort of like it settled me in a way where I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm 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 in my late 20s and that feels good, you know.
yeah.
Um and uh I don't know if you don't really watch like the Game Grumps or listen to Ninja Sex Party really, do you?
I do. I listen to Ninja Sex Party more than I watch the Game Grumps.
Yeah, so okay, so Dan Avidan, who is the lead singer of that band and one of the co-comedians on the Game Grumps, um, I heard him talk about this once where he's like, I didn't really hit my stride as like a person until my 30s. Like he's in his 40s now and he's like a touring rock musician and he's a professional comedian
Hmm.
and you know like he was like I didn't leave my day job until my 30s, you know. And I was like that's actually really gratifying. Like I am there's a culture and of course we should go into this more, but in our culture there's an expectation that you hit it in your 20s and more I'm like I think that's ridiculous.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh
I'm like
yeah. I mean, like, well, now it's like, yeah, you need to be like a top influencer in your teens.
yeah, which I'm like
You know?
okay, I like sure whatever, but I'm like I don't know, like what do you, I don't know, like I also don't want to peak in my 20s either, you know.
Yeah,
I
peaking
guess
and ceilings and all that stuff. Yeah,
I
that's a good episode idea.
yeah, but like the truth is I never want to peak. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like I know I guess you eventually probably will, but like I don't want to stop growing. I don't want to stop improving. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think there's an expectation that you hit the peak and that's the best part, but we all know it's the journey up and down. And there's going to be multiple peaks,
Yeah.
and
You
yeah,
spend the
I
least
think
amount of
it's
time at the peak.
exactly. Yeah, it's a surprisingly short yet a surprisingly infinite amount of time we have on this earth.
Yeah.
And that is like that is like the problem with 26 is that you are beginning to be old enough that things feel like they're going so fast, but you're still young enough to understand you have plenty of time.
Yeah.
And you're also like that's like the first year where like you're off your parents' insurance. Car insurance rates go
Yup.
down. It's easier to get loans. It's like the first year after it's like like after 25, your body starts to deteriorate, and 26 is like a year of dealing with that crap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's like all these. Once again, it's like going to high school or going to college or graduating from college. It's just like a shitstorm that hits you. And you just have to weather it. And
Yeah.
yeah, getting out the other end it's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Like I was thinking about it and I was like, I think 26 might go down as not an awesome age, even though it was a pretty good year,
yeah,
for me
yeah.
at least.
26 has a lot more in common with 21 than it does with 18 or 25.
It definitely does. It definitely does.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of those. It's one of those like barrier years. Like my friend Allie, who you've met, she once said the phrase to me, and we had a long conversation about it, and mostly about gender norms, but like how she felt at 26 because she's a year older than me. Because she was like, I'm on the wrong side of 25,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
was like, oh yeah, I guess there is that feeling, isn't there?
Hmm.
And it's bullshit, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's very, very weird. But, I'm looking forward to this coming year in terms of doing the show with you and continuing law school and all kinds of stuff. But
Yeah.
I
There's
think
a lot of
it's,
hope going into this year, whereas I think last year it was still a bit uneasy, I think.
yeah, this time last year, I was in the midst of trying to make decisions
Yeah.
um, around where I wanted to go to school. And, like I was setting myself up to be where I am now, and there's like things there are different things I want at this point where I'm like you're right. There's a lot of time to go and it's starting to speed up. And so I want to enjoy more things and I
Yes.
want to worry about less stuff and it's all good. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
But, you know, we got to take it day by day and I don't know. Like I definitely need to spend like one thing I'm really excited about with our show doing this more is like and getting back on it in a sense is like it's really helpful to occasionally and more than occasionally really check in with the people who have known you a really long time,
Yes.
you know. Um because it's grounding in a way. Um like I was it was this funny like a funny experience I had at law school this year was just kind of coming to terms with the fact that like I'm probably going to know a lot of these people for a long time because that's just how they're just going to be my colleagues for a long time
Yeah.
because the law community is pretty small. Um, but they're not going to know me before this. Like, like
Yeah.
you definitely are a person who thinks of me as like a creative person first, and
Definitely.
a lot of these people never will think that.
Yep.
Maybe a handful of them who really get to know me, and who I can, convince that my feelings about things are such that like, we are not defined by our jobs and this is a more important part of my life, but it money and things and like but like this, you know, but
Yeah.
they're my like law colleagues and they met me in law school, right? And so they don't have these filters of like who I was before and other things that mattered to me. And so like the longer you know someone, the more of that they have. Um and so it's really key, I think, to touch in with those people. Um
Yeah.
especially for me right now is that like I definitely want to keep in touch with um those other aspects that are of me and that law school definitely does not reinforce. Speaking of systemic T.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a really great note to wrap up today and this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. Well, folks, thanks again for listening to our show this year. I mean, we don't really pay attention to the stats, but we know that you all have stuck with us through these terrible times based on the stats. So I really appreciate it. um, we'll see you in the new year. We'll have probably more announcements. We'll probably put a little announcement on the feed when we know for sure when we're going to come back.
Yep.
But
I'd say mid January, you think?
mid-January
That
probably. Yeah.
I'm pretty I'm pretty comfortable saying mid-January.
Okay.
I think after the holidays, though, you and I can record.
Yeah.
Get right on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not in school right now.
Oh yeah, we have a break. I forgot about that. Lucky bastard.
Yeah. Yeah. I fucking need it.
Yeah, you definitely deserve it. That said, though, I am about to go hop on a plane in 6 hours. So
You have a great time with that.
yep.
I'm gonna get in a car in 2 days and basically do the same thing.
Oh boy. Well, Godspeed.
Yeah. Fly well.
Yes, fly, you fool.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Cool. All right.
well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will catch you in the new year when we're all older.